hear what you're saying. I hear how you feel about that. Do you think that there are any other privileges given to any other races, or do you think that black people have any certain privileges because of their skin?
Talk their way out of fights.
Black people can talk their way out of fights?
I mean, they can do a mean soft shoe, run a ball fast, rap.
Okay.
Nothing that's gonna change a community. No.
Why not?
We have an impeccable fashion sense, but
Why? Why do you have an impeccable fashion sense?
Have you seen black people?
No, I mean, where does that come from?
Making something out of nothing. Taking the throwaways and making them something. Like, why would you purposely eat chitlins?
I mean, if you're talking about pork rinds, right?
No, chitlins, pig intestines.
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
Okay, I'll give you an example. We all love Louisiana cooking, right?
Yeah.
It's slave cooking.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's bits and pieces.
See, there's another word
all
for
that stuff.
Other cultures call that provincial. It just means
provincial.
Yes, it means the food of the poor people. Which
the
is
food
like
of the poor people.
Yeah. I mean, in New England, white people ate lobster because they were insects, and the rich people wouldn't eat it. You know, and they were so plentiful. I mean, I know that's
that's a good example. But I'm like, it's the stuff that other people threw away.
Po' boys, right?
Yeah,
I love po' boys. Everybody loves po' boys. Everybody loves po' boys. But I mean, yeah, that po' boys came from poor people. That's why they're called po' boy sandwiches.
Yeah, but okay. My idea of that is, okay, that's a point of survival, food. But now, why does that stuff still go on now?
So why do you still eat chitlins?
I don't eat chitlins.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't either, so I guess we agree on that. But I'd eat a po' boy every day of the week if I had the chance. I love them.
I mean, it's so much of the stuff just jumbled up. Oh, man. Like, I get upset when I see that. Like, you don't have to do that.
The chitlin thing.
Yeah. Like, when I see somebody purposely liking to go and get the stuff that they made fun of you about, that they threw to you like slop. It just does something to me. But I digress. Let's move on.
Okay, I want to ask you a question. What about government contracts? You know, and well, this is part of
like for paper clips?
Affirmative action.
Oh,
right. So, I mean, white privilege. If you believe that there's white privilege, then you can believe that certain people are at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can potentially believe that, you know, we need to do something about that, and maybe affirmative action is a way to deal with that. I would propose that it could be a way to deal with that, but it's only one very small piece of it.
Yeah.
You know, frankly, there are people of several different races that say, you know, how come I can't get government contracts even though my factory makes the best paper clips, right?
Yes, because affirmative action comes from a space where there was enough evidence to suggest wrongdoing on those levels. There was enough, but the thing people don't think about affirmative action, that's for every minority, not just black people. It's every minority has.
Yeah, it's for everybody except for white men.
Yes. Because y'all the measuring stick. You don't get something for nothing.
Who decided we were the measuring stick?
America! Okay. If you're a white, Christian, heterosexual male, you are the measuring stick. And everybody falls into the hierarchy as in how well or how much they line up with
that. I wonder if you look at the demographics of white, male, heterosexual.
Christian. You gotta put that in there.
It's a minority. It's a minority.
This place is run by apartheid. Yeah, but affirmative action, so I hear people, I said.
So I'm just throwing this back at you to say that, you know, some people would say you have certain privileges because you're black, or because you're a minority, or because you're a woman, or, you know what I mean? So last time we talked a little bit about, you know, on some scale, everybody in America is going to have it harder or more difficult or
Than
easier than somebody else.
Yes.
On a large enough scale.
Fair, yes.
And so, if everybody has certain privileges, I mean, yeah, maybe my shirt could slip up in a convenience store and somebody could see that firearm and not think twice about it. But I also know that I don't have a snowball's chance in hell of starting a company that makes something specifically for government contracts. It'll never happen for me. It's just out of the cards.
I mean, you're working in your wheelhouse. There's nothing wrong with that. But like affirmative action, you have to. The thing that people get, I don't understand why they get mad at it. It's just giving a fair shake to somebody who would not have. Because remember, it goes back. No matter what you do, that application comes across somebody's desk. So you have to already meet the requirements before the affirmative action even kicks in. You can't be a D student and talk about you're going to Harvard. You can't. You have to already be at that level before you're even considered anyway. And then once it gets down there, they say, oh, this person has done has fulfilled our requirements with less resources than the other folks have. So yeah, we're gonna open the door. So you get an inner city kid that has somehow jumped the hoops and went through the rungs of the ladder and has fulfilled the requirements to even be nominated or be considered. And then on top of it, they said, oh, he did this with less advantage or less resources or less, connections than these Ivy Leaguers. So yeah, we're gonna bring him in here. It's not, it ain't no D student talking about I should have been at Harvard. I'm like, you already got to qualify first. So I don't understand what the fight is, because it's not like they're just letting anybody in. They've already met the requirements. And far as like in workforce, if you are running a company that participates in affirmative action, your workers should reflect the population. Call me crazy.
So one of the things that I think about is we've talked about welfare before.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get too deep into welfare, but I just
Let's
want
get deep into welfare.
Well, we will, but that's probably for another conversation, because that's a big topic. But I just wanted to say that there's a parallel there that I see in that, you can disagree with me if you want, but I think that the welfare system has been targeted towards a certain minority.
Yes.
And I think that it has been detrimental to their development as a community.
Yes.
And it has in fact moved them backwards instead of forwards.
We are in total agreement.
Okay. So if that's the case,
Mm-hmm.
then is affirmative action anything more than more welfare?
No.
Tell me how it's different.
Because you have to already qualify. It's very simple. You're not asking for a handout. You're asking for a chance. Welfare, the system they have there is to make you dependent. It's to keep you suckling at the teeth.
I agree.
That's what it is. So if you wanted welfare to be a hand up, not a handout, if you wanted that to happen, it should have been, number one, it should have been a time limit on it. Like, you have 48 months.
And most states would say there is a time limit.
There is, because there's generational.
Yeah.
You should have, you get the best. It should be a time limit. You got 36 months. In 36 months, you need to be in one of the many programs we have.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like it, you need to be in it. Yeah, I know you're a lady, you might not like welding, but guess what? This can help you get on there. And see, that's what it is. We're here to, it came under the guise of it to help, but no, it wasn't. It was to make sure that you had a group, segment of the population that was going to keep voting to keep this free ride going. And I'm not saying don't help anybody. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, hey, we're going to help you. Especially now.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day, there might not have been enough programs and stuff going on. But now, there's no excuse.
Especially with affirmative action, There's no reason you can't be an average student and do
And
something.
you can do
by
something
yourself.
because we have to learn to live this life in your capacity.
Yeah.
You can't judge your life by what somebody else is doing. They might have been smarter. That doesn't make you dumb. They might have more resources. That doesn't make you inadequate. But we keep comparing our lives to each other, and then some people just flat out quit. They just quit. It's easy. I mean, I would sit home like now. What's going on? You know, I would sit at home too if I made more on unemployment than busting my butt. I mean, humans are gonna find the path of least resistance. Why wouldn't I do it? But that's the thing. That easy path comes with your freedoms and your liberties and stuff getting taken away from you. So it's.
I have this idea, and we've talked about conspiracies a little bit before, right? Is there a conspiracy to keep certain groups down? I don't think that there's an organized conspiracy. However, I have this idea that if there was, that conspiracy would have said, okay, at the end of slavery, what are we going to do? And it took them a few years to figure it out because black people started doing better overall. And then eventually they said, let's make them a slave to the state.
Like,
slave,
Eureka!
Let's make them a slave economically.
Yes.
Let's make them a slave to the welfare system. Let's make them a slave to this state that, yeah, don't worry about the fact that we broke your leg. But if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have this crutch to walk on.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. It is almost as bad as slavery because they're really.
It's just, I mean,
they're not brokering money. I mean, they're not brokering cotton now. They're brokering power now.
Exactly.
That's what they want.
Influence.
Yes.
And votes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then they do it in such a way that, like, I keep going back to it, but like the home ownership, we know it's a cornerstone of family wealth. Let's make sure we gonna make that extremely difficult. And then we're gonna make it where they're still raising families in the middle of all of this. They can't save enough money. They can't. It is a web with many. It's just. I mean, they've cut off every avenue. The only thing I could say is, once we break that bond of having that dependence on them, then it would be a problem. I say dependence on the government. Once you break that bond, and then the government starts working for you, then the narrative changes. But you know, I was one of those people who were, if you gave me an advantage, or if I saw an advantage, I was going to take that advantage. I was going to find out what I needed to do to get to the next step. But some people are just.
See, I admire that about you, Hal, because I've seen that in you. That's one of the reasons I think that I gravitated towards being your friend when we first met, and we've become better friends over the years. Because I see that you worked your ass off. You know what I mean? But I don't see that with everybody, and that's with people of all colors.
Yeah.
I see people of all colors who are lazy, you know what's, and living off the government.
That's just life. The poor will be with you always. And not just poor in money, poor in spirit, poor in wisdom, the poor is going to be with you. You can't get away from them. They're not going to see, as my mom say, they can't see the forest for the trees. They're always going to just.
Yeah.
But some people
are short-sighted.
Yeah, they're very short-sighted.
Or to some extent, like you said before, if you're hungry, that's all you care about today. You know, and I can sympathize with that.
But I mean, like you've seen. I'm pretty sure you've got friends and family and all that you see have so much potential, but they just never.
Yeah, every family has those people.
Like, come on, and then you try to help them. You be like, hey, I'll set it up. You run it.
Right.
And they like, nah.
Yeah.
And it's just people like that. There's always gonna be people like us, and there's always gonna be people that's gonna take advantage of the situation. There's always gonna be people that's gonna be lazy. There's always gonna be people that's just gonna do enough to get by. It's always going to be, but the beautiful thing, not the beautiful thing about it, but as in its elegant design, they're going to keep us pitted against those people.